act a certain way and follow a path already paved by others. But deep down, you've always felt different. Not because you're broken, but because you're for something greater. Being a Sigma male isn't just a lifestyle, it's a calling, a divine rebellion, a quiet dominance that doesn't scream for attention but still commands it. The truth is, Sigma males disrupt the system by simply existing. You don't chase validation. And that alone makes you dangerous to a world built on approval and applause. You walk alone, not because you're antisocial, but because you understand that solitude is where clarity is born. Psychology even backs this up. Studies on introversion and autonomy reveal that those who spend more time in reflection often display higher levels of creativity, problem-solving, and emotional intelligence. Traits society needs, but rarely nurtures. You are the chosen one because you've mastered the art of silence in a noisy world. You listen more than you speak, and when you do speak, people. You're not driven by ego or status, but by purpose. That's intimidating to people who need crowds to feel important. The world has a blueprint, and you refuse to follow it. And that's what makes you powerful. So here's the secret they don't want you to realize. You weren't born to fit in. You were born to disrupt, to lead without leading, to exist as proof that quiet strength can shake empires. You're not misunderstood. You are undeniable. And once you understand that your difference is your divine advantage, you stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You walk in your power. Because Sigma, you were chosen. Point 1, the origin of the Sigma, the rogue chosen one. Let's get something straight, Sigmas. You didn't choose this path. This path chose you. While others were busy chasing likes, climbing social ladders, and begging for validation in rooms that didn't even deserve their presence, you always felt like the outsider, the one who didn't quite belong. That wasn't a flaw, it was the beginning of your awakening. While the world applauds those who follow the script, you were tearing up the pages and writing your own. And in that quiet rebellion, a new kind of power was born. You're the lone wolf, not by accident, but by design. You didn't just survive outside the pack, you thrived. When others clung to groupthink and trends, you asked questions. When conformity demanded your silence, you spoke truth. When crowds moved one way, you walked the other. Not to be different for the sake of it, but because your soul simply couldn't accept mediocrity disguised as success. And that moment, when you walked away from what didn't serve your spirit, that was your first sign. You were born different for a reason. History confirms this. Every prophet, visionary, or revolutionary figure, Moses, Elijah, Jesus, Buddha, none of them fit into the world around them. They didn't blend in, they stood apart. They were misunderstood, mocked, even rejected. But that isolation, it became their fuel. It sharpened their minds, refined their spirit, and connected them to a higher purpose. Sound familiar? That's the Sigma essence. You're not here to be average. You are here to awaken others by first mastering yourself. Psychologists might label it introverted dominance or high autonomy, but let's skip the jargon. What it really means is you operate on your own frequency. You don't move for applause. You move with purpose, and that makes people uncomfortable because they can't control what they can't understand. But understand this, your solitude is not loneliness. It's sacred space, a forge where your thoughts are clearer, your vision is stronger, and your purpose becomes unstoppable. You were never meant to blend in, you were meant to break the mold. You don't just exist, you. And while others burn out chasing status, you rise, quietly, fiercely, and with a fire that doesn't need a spotlight. So no, you didn't choose the Sigma path, it chose. Because only a few are built to carry this weight and still walk with honor. And you, Sigma, were born for it. Point 2, why Sigmas are misunderstood, and that's your edge. Society doesn't know what to do with someone it can't control. The truth is, the system was never designed to accommodate those who walk alone, think independently, or refuse to conform. You don't play by their rules, you don't chase validation, and you're not easily manipulated by emotional traps or social pressures. Guilt tripping, that doesn't work on you. People pleasing, that's a game you've long outgrown. And in a world that thrives on compliance, your ability to say no without explaining yourself is seen as rebellion. To them, that's dangerous. To you, that's freedom. This freedom, the ability to think critically, to choose solitude over superficial relationships, to live life on your own terms, is a kind of psychological sovereignty most people can't comprehend. They're confused by your silence, rattled by your calm, and because they can't figure you out, they label you arrogant, cold, distant. But the truth is, behind that quiet, observant exterior is a man who sees more than he says. You're not detached, you're just selective. You observe patterns others miss. You listen when others are too busy talking. You analyze not to criticize, but to understand the bigger picture. Science even backs this up. Studies in personality psychology have shown that introverted, self-reliant individuals tend to process information more deeply and make more strategic decisions. That's not coldness, that's clarity, and it's not arrogance. It's confidence rooted in self-awareness. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. In fact, neurologically, those who practice restraint and patience often show greater control over the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for judgment and planning. In other words, you're not distant, you're deliberate, and your compassion, it's not gone, it's guarded. You don't give your loyalty freely, but when you do, it's unshakable. You've likely helped people silently, supported others without seeking recognition, and stood by those you cared for, even when they didn't understand your ways. Because you know that real strength doesn't need to shout, and real love doesn't always need an audience. So, if people are confused by you, let them be. Your silence is your strategy. Your solitude is your sanctuary. And your refusal to be controlled, that's not defiance, it's a declaration. You were born to lead yourself, not be led by the blind opinions of the crowd. Point 3. You're not lonely, you're selective. One of the biggest lies they tell you is that being alone means being lonely. But here's the truth, Sigmas. Your solitude is sacred. In a world that constantly screams for attention, the man who learns to embrace silence becomes a rare breed. You see, society often equates being alone with being unhappy or socially rejected. But for a Sigma male, solitude isn't a punishment. It's a preference, a power move, a sanctuary for growth. It's where clarity begins and transformation happens. You're not avoiding people. You're avoiding drama, distraction, and dull conversations that sap your energy and offer no real value. You don't have time for superficial small talk or mindless gossip. You'd rather invest your energy in things that matter, your vision, your purpose, your inner peace. Like a lion who doesn't roar unless necessary, you protect your space and guard your mental and emotional territory fiercely. You're not antisocial, you're selectively social, and that's a skill rooted in wisdom, not weakness. While others are lost in the endless scroll, chasing trends and begging for likes, you're offline, building an empire within. This is what most people don't get. Solitude is not a void, it's a forge. It's where you refine your skills, sharpen your mind, and reconnect with your instincts. Studies have shown that people who spend time alone tend to be more creative, more self-aware, and better at emotional regulation. The solitude you embrace actually gives you an edge over those constantly surrounded by noise. That silence you cherish. That's where your greatness is born. It's in those quiet hours that ideas take shape, discipline is strengthened, and focus becomes razor sharp. History's greatest thinkers, Nikola Tesla, Isaac Newton, even Steve Jobs, found clarity and breakthroughs in solitude. It's not about isolation, it's about elevation. You're rising, not retreating. You're building a life that's rooted in purpose, not performance. So the next time someone tells you that you're too quiet or too distant, let them talk. You know the truth. In a world addicted to noise, your silence speaks volumes. You're not lonely, you're leveling up. Point 4, the power of non-attachment, the real superpower. Here's what no one tells you. Your ability to walk away from anything that no longer serves your mission is your greatest power. In a world that constantly pressures people to conform, to endure toxic environments, and to prove loyalty at the cost of their own peace, you choose something radical, detachment with purpose. You don't walk away to escape responsibility. You walk away to protect your vision, your energy, and your destiny. That's what makes it powerful. You understand something most people don't. Just because something was good for you once doesn't mean it's meant to stay forever. Jobs that no longer align with your goals, gone. Relationships that drain more than they give, over. Even family dynamics that keep you boxed into an old identity. Yes, even those are left behind when necessary. You don't announce your departure. You don't create drama or beg for understanding. You simply vanish. And here's the paradox. Your silent exit leaves the loudest echo. People don't realize what your presence truly meant until it's gone. That absence isn't empty. It's full of unspoken truth, missed opportunity, and the weight of what they didn't appreciate when they had the chance. This kind of discipline isn't cold. It's not cruel. It's calculated. You don't act out of emotion. You act out of clarity. Psychology even supports this mindset. Studies show that those with high self-awareness and long-term goal orientation are more likely to cut off situations that hinder their progress, even if it causes short-term discomfort. It's emotional intelligence at its peak. You've trained yourself to recognize when something has reached its expiration date, and you don't let fear, guilt, or nostalgia trap you in a place you've outgrown. Society often labels this kind of behavior as distant or unfeeling, but the truth is it takes immense emotional maturity to walk away without resentment. You don't burn bridges, you don't trash the past. You simply choose the higher path, the path that keeps you aligned with your purpose. You know that loyalty is valuable, but self-loyalty is vital. You can't pour into others if your own cup is empty. So you protect your energy like a soldier guards a treasure. You're not heartless, you're focused. You're not avoiding responsibility. You're embracing a higher one. That's the quiet strength no one sees coming. And by the time they realize what they've lost, you're already 3 steps ahead, building, evolving, becoming exactly who you were always meant to be. Point 5, you see through the matrix. While everyone else is plugged into trends, chasing clout, flaunting status symbols, and starving for likes and approval, you're moving in silence, seeing 10 moves ahead like a master strategist. You're not seduced by the noise or hypnotized by the flashy illusions that most people take at face value. Instead, you pause. You question the narrative. You dig beneath the surface of every idea, every system, every social expectation. You're not here to follow the herd. You were born to walk alone, think independently, and see the game for what it really is. They label you strange, mysterious, even dangerous. They say you're too quiet, too intense, or that you overthink things. But that's just their fear talking, their fear of what they don't understand. Because deep down, even if they never admit it, they admire you. They envy the fact that you don't need the world's approval to validate your worth. You've developed a kind of mental clarity most people never reach. While they're swiping through endless distractions, you're contemplating purpose, studying human nature, planning your next move in silence. And here's the truth. Society isn't built to nurture minds like yours. It's built to reward conformity, to keep people distracted, reactive, emotionally dependent, and always looking outward instead of inward. This system thrives when you're busy scrolling, comparing and consuming. But you're awake. You've unplugged from the matrix. That makes you different. That makes you a threat. This isn't just philosophy, it's psychological fact. Research shows that independent thinkers, often labeled as nonconformists, have stronger problem-solving skills and higher creative intelligence. They're also more likely to experience resistance from the crowd because challenging norms disrupts comfort zones. But that discomfort you cause, that's growth knocking on their door. So while the world's obsessed with chasing trends, you're busy mastering yourself. Your clarity isn't accidental, it's earned through reflection, observation, and detachment. You don't just live life, you study it, dissect it, and decide how you want to play it. You've learned that real power isn't in being seen, it's in seeing clearly, and that's why they don't get you. But that's also why they can't ignore you. Point 6, women feel it, even if they can't explain it. Let's be honest, you don't chase, you attract. And that quiet confidence, it drives people absolutely crazy, especially women. There's something undeniably powerful about a man who walks his path without needing anyone's validation. He's not out there flashing wealth, begging for attention, or trying to dominate every room with loud words. Instead, he holds his own in silence, eyes locked on his mission. And that focus alone speaks louder than any pickup line ever could. Psychologically, this phenomenon is known as the harder you try to chase something, the more it eludes you. When it comes to attraction, the same principle applies. The Sigma male, known for his independence and refusal to conform, doesn't run after people. He understands that desperation repels and confidence attracts. Women aren't drawn to men who try too hard. They're drawn to mystery, composure, and purpose. That's what you embody. What's fascinating is how this behavior taps into something primal. Throughout human history, leaders and warriors were revered not just for their physical strength, but for their ability to stay grounded, calm, and strategic. You mirror that same energy today. When you're locked in on your goals, building something meaningful, or simply enjoying your solitude, people begin to take notice. You're not the loudest in the room, but somehow everyone turns when you walk in. That's not luck, that's energy, that's presence. And here's the kicker, you don't need to flex. Your presence is the flex. That steady aura, the way you move with intention and how you speak only when necessary, it creates an air of intrigue. Women sense that you're not playing games. You're not trying to win anyone over. You've already won because you're winning at life. That level of self-possession is rare, and people can't help but be magnetized by it. In a world saturated with noise, attention-seeking, and overexposure, your silence speaks volumes. Your mystery becomes your magnetism. And that's why, even without chasing, you're always being watched, admired, and silently desired. Point 7. You were built for purpose, not pleasure. Every Sigma knows this deep in his bones. Life isn't about chasing shallow highs or fitting into society's scripted routine of validation. While the world urges men to chase after the next big thrill, to accumulate more, to post for likes and chase applause, the Sigma stands apart. He's not here to impress, consume, or compete. His soul rejects superficiality. The Sigma male sees life as a canvas for something greater, something real. You're here to build, to create, to inspire. That doesn't mean following the crowd or mimicking what already exists. It means diving into your purpose, even when no one claps for you. It's about mastering your craft in silence, growing through adversity, and standing tall even when misunderstood. Sigmas thrive in solitude not because they dislike people, but because that silence breeds clarity. In the stillness, they map out visions others are too distracted to see. You crave meaning, not noise. While others chase trends and clamor for attention, you're searching for alignment, fulfillment. You understand that true joy doesn't come from luxury, but from legacy. It's not the flash of the car you drive or the price of your watch. It's the impact of your actions, the depth of your thoughts, the truth in your words. And in a society obsessed with temporary pleasures, that makes you dangerous. You're a man on a mission. You may not broadcast it, but it radiates through your discipline, your independence, your refusal to bend just to be liked. And that's what makes you chosen. Not because someone crowned you, but because you refuse to follow. Because in a world drowning in noise, you chose purpose. You chose the path less traveled, and that's the mark of someone destined to lead, not follow. That is the spirit of the Sigma. Point 8. The battle within what they never see. People think being a Sigma is easy, a quiet life, no drama, just doing your own thing. But what they don't see is the storm beneath the surface. Being a Sigma isn't about detachment or indifference, it's about mastering a battlefield that's invisible to most. It's the daily war between the desire for total freedom and the weight of responsibility. The tension between craving solitude and quietly longing for authentic connection. It's the challenge of walking the line between inner chaos and calculated control. Unlike many who escape into distraction, the Sigma male faces his inner demons head-on. There's no hiding behind noise, parties, or meaningless chatter. Instead, he embraces the silence, confronts his wounds, and chooses to grow through them. Pain isn't numbed, it's used. Just like ancient alchemists sought to turn lead into gold, Sigma men turn suffering into strength, turning trials into tools. That's what makes them different. They don't avoid the fire, they walk through it, emerging sharper, wiser, and more self-aware. This quiet evolution is what sets the chosen apart from the crowd. It's not about fitting in, it's about rising, not in noise, but in depth. And that silent ascent is what makes the Sigma journey so rare and powerful. So Sigmas, here's what nobody tells you. Your path isn't broken, it's just different. Society thrives on conformity, and when you refuse to play by its rules, they label you as odd or antisocial. But you're not weird, you're rare. You see the world through a sharper lens. While most chase trends, you chase truth. You don't need validation from the crowd because your validation comes from mastering your craft in silence. Studies show that those who embrace solitude often score higher in creativity and problem-solving, traits that define the Sigma male. While the world seeks noise and attention, you've chosen the quiet grind. And that's where greatness is born. Legends aren't built in applause, they're forged in the fire of isolation. Stay sharp, stay Sigma, stay. Sigmas, ever felt like you were designed differently, like your soul was coded with divine precision? What if I told you your unique lifestyle isn't random, but God ordained? That's right, the Sigma male isn't an accident. He's a masterpiece, crafted for purpose, precision, and power. Welcome, Sigmas. Today we're diving deep into a spiritual revelation few dare to explore, 8 reasons behind God's creation of the Sigma male. This isn't just about why you walk alone, it's about why heaven walks with you. Throughout Scripture, we see figures who mirror Sigma traits. Think of Elijah, fiercely independent, deeply introspective, spiritually attuned, yet powerfully impactful. These aren't coincidences, they're archetypes. God often uses the outsider to shift the course of history. Sigma males are built to operate outside the noise, think beyond the crowd, and challenge the status quo. They're not rebels without a cause, they're visionaries with divine assignments. You were crafted to lead, not by dominance, but by influence. Your silence is not weakness, it's strategic. Your solitude is not loneliness, it's preparation. You're meant to hear God in quiet places and bring clarity to noisy worlds. In a society that rewards conformity, your difference is your divine signature. You're wired for inner strength, spiritual discernment, and uncommon wisdom. Even science backs this. Studies in psychology show Sigma-type personalities score high in autonomy, introspection, and emotional intelligence. So no, your path isn't random, it's divine design. Stay tuned as we unpack each reason why you, Sigma, were chosen for such a time as this. Let's go deeper. Reason 1, to lead without being seen. You weren't created to chase after the spotlight, you were created to shine in the darkness. There's a major difference. In a world obsessed with attention, God's design for you is far more profound. You're not meant to be seen. You're meant to make an impact, even if no one notices. Let's break that down. Think about King David before he wore the crown. He wasn't parading around seeking admiration. He was in the fields, tending sheep, practicing with his slingshot, developing skills that would one day take down a giant. People overlooked him. Even his own father didn't call him in when the prophet Samuel came looking to anoint a king. But God saw him. Because God doesn't choose based on appearances. He chooses based on purpose. Sigma males operate in a similar way. They're not loud or flashy. They don't seek validation. They don't need a stage to be effective. They influence from the shadows, quietly making moves, setting standards, and shifting outcomes. Psychology often describes them as independent, self-reliant, and resistant to social hierarchies. That's why they can lead without needing a title. And that's exactly what makes them so powerful. History is filled with these types of leaders. Jesus, for example, didn't build his ministry through political power or religious titles. He moved among the hurting, spoke truth in uncomfortable places, and led by example. His influence came not from prestige, but from authenticity, purpose, and divine alignment. Sometimes the greatest leaders don't wear crowns, they wear humility. They don't bark orders, they set examples. They don't need approval, they carry conviction. So while others are out there collecting followers, chasing trends, and vying for attention, remember this: you were designed to be the light in dark places. Whether it's in your workplace, your home, or your community, your quiet strength and faithfulness are your platform, and God often uses the unseen to bring about the most profound change. Be the David in a world full of Goliaths. You don't need a crown to lead, you just need courage, purpose, and faith. Reason 2, to escape the matrix. Most men are born into a world that hands them a script: chase success, climb the corporate ladder, buy the dream house, post the perfect life online, and repeat until retirement. It's a system designed to reward conformity and punish divergence. But then there's the Sigma male, and he doesn't just deviate from the script, he rewrites it. Unlike the alpha who dominates the crowd or the beta who follows it, the Sigma walks alone, not out of rebellion, but because he sees something others don't. This is no accident. God wires certain individuals differently. Sigma males are gifted with what can only be described as divine vision, the ability to perceive the illusion most others take as reality. Psychologically speaking, this detachment from group validation is rooted in a heightened sense of internal locus of control. Studies in personality psychology especially those exploring Jungian archetypes, show that individuals with this trait are less influenced by social pressure and more guided by personal values. They don't seek permission to be themselves, they just are. A Sigma sees the game, the rat race, the fake smiles, the performative friendships, and chooses not to play. He doesn't need to be the loudest in the room to be heard. His quiet confidence often unnerves those who are still trapped in the matrix of constant validation. But this isn't just about opting out of societal norms. The Sigma's real purpose is spiritual. He walks his own path not to escape the world, but to wake others up. By choosing authenticity over approval, purpose over popularity, he becomes a mirror that reflects what others are too afraid to confront. Think of biblical figures like John the Baptist or Elijah, outsiders who didn't blend in, who saw through the corruption and called others to awaken. That's the Sigma spirit, not just rogue but prophetic. You weren't made to blend in because your very presence is meant to stir the souls of those still asleep. Your silence speaks. Your solitude teaches. Your life, lived unapologetically, is the alarm clock that shakes others from their slumber. That's not rebellion, that's divine design. Reason 3, to master solitude for divine purpose. Let's get real. While many people feel uncomfortable or even anxious when they find themselves alone, you, like a true Sigma, thrive in solitude. But why? Because solitude isn't loneliness for you, it's revelation. It's in the quiet moments, away from the noise and distractions of everyday life, that you hear God's whispers the loudest. This isn't just a poetic idea. From a biblical perspective, Jesus himself often withdrew to solitary places to pray and connect deeply with God. In Mark 1:35, it's recorded that Jesus got up early before dawn, went to a solitary place and prayed. This wasn't a random habit. It was a vital spiritual practice that allowed him to recharge, gain clarity, and prepare for the challenges ahead. For a Sigma, solitude is sacred because it's where your soul sharpens. Psychologically speaking, spending time alone helps with self-reflection and emotional regulation. It's in these quiet moments that you process your thoughts, understand your feelings, and align your actions with your values. Solitude fosters creativity, boosts problem-solving skills, and strengthens your ability to focus. Essentially, it's the mental and spiritual workout that builds resilience and wisdom. Moreover, neuroscientific studies show that solitude activates the brain's default mode network, DMN, which is responsible for introspection and memory consolidation. This means that time alone helps you integrate experiences and develop a stronger sense of self. So next time you find yourself in quiet solitude, don't see it as being lonely or isolated. Embrace it as your power zone, a sacred space where your spirit connects, your mind sharpens, and your heart listens. Just like Jesus, you're not avoiding the world, you're preparing to engage with it more fully, with deeper insight and unwavering strength. Solitude isn't a weakness. For you, it's a divine gift and a pathway to revelation. Reason 4, to be untouchable by man, but used by God. The world loves to put people into neat little boxes, to label, control, and confine them. Society rewards conformity and fears those who break the mold. But Sigmas, you don't fit their system because you're the glitch in the matrix, the one who operates on a frequency all your own. You're independent, self-reliant, and unshackled by the need to seek approval or validation from others. This unique mindset makes you not just different, but powerful. From a biblical and spiritual perspective, this kind of individuality resonates deeply with the idea of God's chosen warriors. Throughout Scripture, God often calls those who are willing to stand alone to do the impossible. Think of David facing Goliath without armor, or Esther boldly approaching the king when no one else would. These were not wallflowers or crowd followers. They were fearless, obedient warriors who trusted God's plan over popular opinion. Being a Sigma male aligns with this divine blueprint. You don't need the crowd to follow you or the spotlight to shine. Your strength is in your quiet confidence and your unwavering resolve. Psychologically, this reflects high self-efficacy and intrinsic motivation, traits shown to correlate with success and leadership because they come from within, not from external pressure. Moreover, God's secret weapon doesn't conform because he uses you in places others won't go. This may be uncomfortable solitude or difficult paths where faith is tested, but that is precisely where warriors are forged. In these moments, you grow spiritually and develop resilience. You become the person who impacts the world quietly but profoundly. So remember, God creates warriors, not wallflowers. The world tries to fit you into a box, but your mission is far bigger. Embrace your unique path, stand firm in your faith, and walk boldly, because your strength lies in your willingness to stand alone and trust God's plan above all. Reason 5, to expose false power structures. Every time a Sigma male walks into a room, an invisible shift happens. It's not about loud dominance or flashy power plays. It's about the quiet authority that comes from authenticity and self-possession. Sigmas don't conform to societal hierarchies because they operate outside the traditional system of ego-driven status. Instead, they observe deeply, discern motives, and expose inauthenticity simply by being true to themselves. This unique stance isn't just a personality trait, it's a spiritual calling. Many spiritual teachings describe a role for individuals who, without raising their voice, reveal truth and dismantle deception. In biblical terms, they act like light in the darkness. Light doesn't argue with darkness, it simply illuminates, making the shadows vanish. Similarly, a Sigma's authentic presence can expose corruption, manipulation, and fakery, not by confrontation, but by shining a steady, unshakable light on what is real. Psychologically, this effect happens because humans are wired to sense authenticity. Studies show that people can detect genuine emotional expressions and intentions subconsciously. When a Sigma walks in, their genuine confidence and lack of need for external approval create a magnetic field that unsettles the false pretenses of others. This is why hierarchies, built on ego and posturing, tend to crumble around them. They don't engage in power struggles, they simply don't play by those rules. From a spiritual perspective, many believe God empowers such individuals to be vessels of truth and integrity. They serve as catalysts for positive change, awakening others by embodying principles of honesty, humility, and discernment. Their presence alone challenges lies and hypocrisy, encouraging others to step into their own truth. So the next time a Sigma enters a room, remember, it's not about dominance or aggression, it's about a divine mission to reveal what's genuine, shine light on shadows, and transform environments with the power of authenticity. Their influence isn't loud, but it is undeniable, because truth, once seen, cannot be hidden. Reason 6, to remind the world that value comes from within. You don't flex wealth, you don't chase clout, yet everyone wonders, what's his secret? It's simple. God placed value in you, not outside you. In a world obsessed with status, money, and validation, the Sigma male stands apart because his worth isn't tied to external achievements or recognition. Instead, his confidence and self-assurance come from a deep, unshakable understanding that his value is divinely bestowed. This is not just a spiritual platitude. It has practical implications on how a person carries themselves and interacts with the world. From a biblical perspective, this aligns with the truth that humans are created in God's image, Genesis 1:27, and thus inherently valuable regardless of worldly success or approval. Psalm 139:14 reminds us, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. When someone truly embraces this truth, they no longer need to seek approval or validation from others because they already have divine affirmation. Walking like a king without a worldly crown reflects a spiritual reality. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Prioritizing God's approval over the world's applause creates a quiet strength that others recognize, even if they can't explain it. This confidence isn't loud or boastful, it's calm, steady, and powerful. Moreover, neuroscience shows that external validation triggers dopamine releases, but they are short-lived. True self-worth, rooted in spiritual identity, offers lasting emotional resilience and peace. Sigmas don't rely on fleeting highs from social approval. Their source is constant and unchanging. So what's the secret? It's simple yet profound. You walk in your God-given value. Your worth is already confirmed by the highest authority. That's why you don't need to flex or chase clout, because heaven's approval is all the affirmation you'll ever need. Reason 7, to protect and preserve sacred knowledge. While the world is busy shouting opinions, rushing through noise and chasing fleeting trends, Sigmas choose a different path. Instead of getting caught up in the chaos, they pause to read, reflect, and truly listen. This isn't just about gathering intellectual knowledge. It's about accessing a deeper kind of wisdom that blends the mind and the spirit. Psychological research shows that reflective people who practice mindful listening and contemplation tend to develop higher emotional intelligence and better decision-making skills. Sigmas embody this naturally, but beyond worldly wisdom, there is a spiritual dimension to the insight they carry. They are entrusted with divine truths that many aren't ready to understand or accept. This sacred trust shapes their unique perspective. Because of this, people feel deeply seen and heard when they interact with a Sigma. It's as if the Sigma has an innate ability to hold space for others without judgment, creating a sense of safety and acceptance. This resonates with the biblical idea of being a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope and guidance. Think of a vault that stores precious treasures. That's what a Sigma's mind and heart represent. They are guardians of timeless truths, carrying wisdom passed down through generations or revealed through spiritual insight. This is why their presence commands respect and inspires trust. In a world overwhelmed by noise and confusion, Sigmas stand apart. They're the quiet strength, the thoughtful observer, and the wise counselor. The insight they hold is not just knowledge, but a powerful spiritual gift. A gift they use to uplift others and navigate life's complexities with grace. Reason 8, to prove that purpose is greater than popularity. Being a Sigma male isn't about chasing popularity or fitting into society's mold. It's about focusing on what truly matters, your purpose. Unlike alpha or beta personalities, Sigmas operate on a different frequency. They don't seek validation from the crowd because they understand that popularity is fleeting. History shows countless examples where those who chased applause fell short, but those who stayed true to their mission left a lasting legacy. Think of figures like Nikola Tesla or Jesus Christ, misunderstood, often solitary, yet profoundly impactful. Scientific studies on personality types show that introverted leaders, much like Sigmas, excel at deep focus, strategic thinking, and problem solving. These traits make them highly effective in their fields, without needing constant social approval. Rather than being antisocial, Sigmas are pro-destiny. They're aligned with their inner calling. They choose action over applause, substance over surface, and mission over popularity. So remember, Sigmas, you're not here to be liked. You're here to be effective. Popularity fades, purpose transforms. And every time you choose your mission over applause, you echo the reason God made you this way. You're not antisocial. You're pro-destiny. Sigmas, you're not broken. You're not strange. You're not rebels without cause. You are divine blueprints in human form. God made you to challenge the norm, walk with clarity, and operate with power. You're not just walking a different path. You are the path for others to follow. So stand tall, speak less, move wisely, and never forget you were made this way on purpose, for a purpose. If this message resonated with you, Sigmas, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, and become part of this growing community. This isn't just a channel, it's a movement. Apply these Sigma qualities in your life and watch your world shift. Stay true and stay Sigma. Welcome, Sigmas. Let's uncover a truth that most will never grasp. A Sigma male who spends his time alone has discovered a rare treasure: freedom. Not just freedom from people, but from the need for them, from seeking their approval, from the weight of their expectations, and from the hollow routines that society worships. While the world seeks meaning in noise and crowds, the Sigma male turns inward, cultivating clarity, resilience, and an unwavering sense of purpose. His solitude isn't an escape, it's an exploration. He questions the rules others take for granted. He faces the uncomfortable truths most run from. He lives on his own terms, not seeking applause or validation. This fierce independence makes him almost impossible to sway and a challenge for anyone to manipulate. Those around him can feel it, an unspoken power that commands respect, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. So to all the Sigma males listening, understand this. Your solitude isn't your weakness, it's your greatest weapon. The more you embrace it, the more formidable you become. Your independence is your edge, a quiet strength that many admire but few dare to possess. Let them see it as dangerous if they must. Because the truth is, what they see in you is what they secretly yearn for in themselves. That's the mark of a man who's truly free. So stick with me until the end. We're going deeper into the mind of a Sigma. Let's begin. Point 1. The power of solitude. Sigmas, let's start with the bedrock of this dangerous power, solitude. 1. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's a weapon. A lot of people think being alone is a curse. Oh, he's a loner. He must be sad, right? Wrong. The Sigma male sees solitude as his sanctuary, his personal forge where he hones his mind, refines his purpose, and sharpens his focus. Unlike the common belief that solitude equals isolation, studies show that alone time can actually boost creativity, focus, and mental well-being. A 2017 study in the journal found that individuals who embrace solitude often have stronger problem-solving skills and greater self-awareness. Being alone allows him to listen to his own thoughts, not the noise of the world. He doesn't need to please anyone or fit into the mainstream mold. His alone time is where he grows stronger, more resilient, and more dangerous. 1. The art of deep reflection. When the world is busy chattering, the Sigma is busy listening. Listening to what? To himself. He's not distracted by gossip or the constant noise of opinions. Instead, he's reflecting, analyzing, and plotting his next move like a chess master. This practice is backed by psychology. Deep reflection activates the brain's default mode network, the same network engaged during creative thinking and strategic planning. This means that while others are caught in the endless scroll of social media, the Sigma is creating a mental map of where he wants to go. This deep reflection leads to clarity of purpose, and clarity, Sigmas, is a lethal advantage. 1. Building inner resilience. Solitude breeds a certain kind of resilience that's rare today. Without relying on external validation, the Sigma learns to be his own fortress. He's his own biggest cheerleader and his own harshest critic. Neuroscience research confirms that regular periods of solitude can strengthen emotional regulation and reduce stress. This inner strength is what makes the Sigma unshakable. He's not dangerous because he's aggressive. He's dangerous because he's unyielding. Every quiet moment he spends alone is another layer of mental armor, another brick in the wall of his self-sufficiency. When challenges come, he doesn't buckle. He adapts, recalibrates, and keeps moving forward, undeterred by the opinions of the world. So remember this, solitude isn't a punishment. It's the ultimate training ground for the Sigma male. It's where he becomes the master of his own destiny. Point 2, the mystique of the lone wolf. Sigmas, let's be honest, there's something undeniably magnetic about the lone wolf, the guy who doesn't need the crowd. Let's break down why that mystique is so powerful and, yes, so dangerous. First up, the mysterious aura. You know what's more unsettling than an obvious threat, the unknown? When a Sigma chooses solitude, it isn't a sign of weakness. It's an enigmatic force. In psychological terms, humans are hardwired to be intrigued by what they can't fully see or understand. This is called the curiosity gap, and it pulls people in. The Sigma's silence speaks volumes, but it's never easy to decode. That alone triggers fascination and sometimes fear. Second, mastering the art of observation. While the masses are lost in a swirl of social interactions, the Sigma quietly watches from the sidelines. He's not just drifting, he's gathering data, processing it like a high-speed computer. Research in cognitive psychology shows that people who observe first and act later often have a strategic advantage. Think of the Sigma as a panther in the jungle. He watches the herd, tracks the patterns, and only moves when it matters. This strategic patience is why Sigmas can slip through life's chaos with laser-sharp precision. Third, emotional independence. This isn't about being cold or distant, it's about being self-contained. Studies have shown that people with high levels of emotional intelligence can regulate their emotions and resist external pressures. Sigmas embody this trait effortlessly. They don't rely on constant validation or approval from others. That's why social games and manipulation tactics just bounce right off them. People can't sway someone who doesn't crave their applause. And here's why this independence is so dangerous in the eyes of the social world. It's untouchable. The Sigma isn't driven by fear of rejection or the need to fit in. He's driven by his own compass. This unshakable core makes others feel both curious and threatened because it can't be tamed or predicted, so Sigmas. Remember, this power isn't about pushing people away. It's about owning who you are, trusting your own instincts, and seeing the world with clear, unwavering eyes. The lone wolf doesn't just survive, he thrives. Point 3. Why does he choose to be alone? Now you might be wondering, why does he choose to be alone in the first place? Let's unpack this choice. He's selective with his energy, sigmas. Understand that energy is currency, precious and limited. They're aware that investing it in shallow interactions or aimless chatter is like pouring money into a bottomless pit. Instead, they choose solitude as a means to recharge, refocus, and recalibrate. Research in psychology highlights the importance of solitude in fostering creativity and self-awareness. By retreating from the noise of constant socializing, sigmas create space for their minds to wander, for ideas to blossom, and for genuine connections to thrive when they do engage with others. Quality over quantity. The Sigma male isn't interested in amassing a large social circle for the sake of it. Instead of chasing after endless small talk, he prioritizes meaningful conversations and authentic bonds. Studies on friendship networks have shown that deep, trust-based relationships are far more fulfilling and contribute significantly to well-being compared to numerous shallow connections. So he's not worried about having hundreds of friends. A few like-minded individuals who truly understand him are enough. This approach to relationships ensures his energy goes into connections that nourish his soul rather than drain it. He's building his empire. Every moment spent alone isn't about escaping the world. It's about building his own. Solitude gives him the clarity and focus needed to invest in his passions, whether that's advancing his career, honing his fitness, exploring his spirituality, or mastering a craft. In fact, research has shown that alone time is often when people engage in the deepest forms of self-reflection and personal growth. While others might mistake this quiet for loneliness, he knows it's in these quiet hours that empires are built. These are the times when he sets goals, strategizes, and crafts the future he wants to live. Sigmas, remember this. Solitude isn't a retreat, it's a forge. In the stillness, you're sharpening your mind, strengthening your spirit, and laying the groundwork for something remarkable. When you step out of that solitude, you're not empty, you're powerful, intentional, and ready to make an impact. Point 4, the dangerous edge. Why it intimidates others. Here's where it gets spicy. Why does the Sigma's alone time make him so intimidating? Let's unpack this with some engaging insights and real-world examples. First, a Sigma male who's comfortable being alone can't be manipulated. In a world obsessed with social circles, likes, and validation, the man who stands content in solitude is a rare breed. Studies in psychology show that social exclusion can trigger real pain. Our brains light up the same way they do for physical pain when we feel left out. But the Sigma has already conquered that fear. He's self-contained, unafraid of being left out, and immune to the threats of abandonment that often control others. This makes him a fortress, unbreakable and self-reliant. Second, he's not desperate for approval. This detachment from external validation is a powerful trait. Researchers have found that people who base their self-esteem on external factors like popularity or relationships often feel more anxious and less authentic. The Sigma male, on the other hand, draws from his inner well of self-worth. He doesn't play by the rules of social games. That makes him unpredictable, and unpredictability is intimidating. He can't be boxed in, labeled, or used as a pawn in someone else's chess game. Like the Joker in a deck of cards, he's the wild card who can rewrite the rules. Finally, there's that silent confidence. Confidence isn't always about loud declarations or chest-beating bravado. True confidence, the kind that turns heads and makes others pause, is calm and grounded. Think about apex predators in the wild, like tigers. They move with quiet grace, and yet everyone knows they're a force to be reckoned with. That's the Sigma male's vibe. He doesn't need to roar. His presence alone sends a signal of strength and self-assuredness. People sense it and instinctively respect it, or fear it. So the next time you see a man who's perfectly fine in his own company, remember, he's not lonely, he's powerful. His alone time isn't a weakness, it's his greatest weapon. Point 5, humor break. Lighten the mood. All right, Sigmas, let's not get too serious here. Let's take a quick humor break. Picture this, you're at a coffee shop, minding your own business. There's a guy across the room slurping a pumpkin spice latte and scrolling aimlessly through social media. He sees you sitting alone with a book titled The Art of Thinking Clearly, or maybe Nietzsche's. You're sipping your black coffee like it's a rare vintage. He thinks, poor guy, must be so lonely. But here's the truth, Sigmas. Loneliness isn't really on your radar. In fact, solitude is your sanctuary. Did you know that, according to a study published in the Spending Time Alone in Quiet Environments actually boosts cognitive performance and creativity? It's like hitting the mental gym for your mind. While that guy is worried about your social life, you're probably making plans to launch a new startup, climb that mountain you've always wanted to conquer, or figure out how to live off the grid and write a best-selling book. Solitude isn't a punishment for you, it's a strategic retreat. Even history's greatest thinkers and creators, from Leonardo da Vinci to Nikola Tesla, cherish solitude as a source of innovation and self-mastery. And here's a fun fact. A 2020 study by the University of Buffalo found that people who prefer solitude, like you, Sigmas, often score higher on measures of self-reliance and personal growth. That's not isolation, that's evolution. It's like giving your soul a quiet space to grow. So let them think you're lonely. Let them misinterpret your silence as emptiness. You know the truth. You're not avoiding people, you're avoiding trivial conversations. You're not alone. You're in the company of your own brilliant thoughts. That's the Sigma way. And hey, while everyone else is tangled in endless chatter, you're forging a path that's uniquely yours. Keep going, Sigmas. The world will catch up eventually. Point 6. How this lifestyle boosts his power. Let's dive deeper. Spending time alone transforms the Sigma into a powerhouse, and why this solitude isn't just a retreat, it's a strategic advantage. 1. Enhanced focus. Imagine trying to study in a crowded cafe. Good luck. In solitude, the Sigma sheds all distractions. Research from the University of California shows that interruptions can cost up to 23 minutes of lost productivity. Alone, the Sigma can sink into deep work mode, a term coined by Cal Newport. This is the space where real progress happens. No external noise, no drama, just pure focus. It's like having an invisible force field around your goals. 2. Self-mastery. Solitude isn't just a luxury, it's a training ground. It's where the Sigma learns to control his thoughts, emotions, and actions. There's no one to blame or impress, just himself. Think of it like a mental gym. He's lifting weights of discipline and endurance. A Harvard study even found that people who spend time alone develop better emotional regulation. The Sigma learns to be the captain of his own ship, steering through life with intention. 3. Heightened creativity. Did you know that solitude has been linked to some of the most innovative breakthroughs in history? Albert Einstein used to wander off on long walks, letting his thoughts roam free. Studies published in the show that solitude enhances divergent thinking, the ability to generate many ideas. This is the Sigma's secret weapon. When alone, he's free from groupthink. He's not absorbing other people's opinions like a sponge. He's creating his own. 4. He becomes his own best friend. This is where the real transformation happens. In solitude, the Sigma becomes comfortable with himself. He's no longer seeking external validation. He realizes that true confidence doesn't come from the crowd, it comes from within. Psychologists call this self-acceptance, and it's a key factor in emotional resilience. The Sigma stops fearing rejection because he's already accepted himself. That's why he's emotionally bulletproof. In the end, solitude isn't isolation, it's liberation. The Sigma emerges not as a lonely wolf, but as a powerhouse of focus, discipline, and creativity. So if you see a Sigma taking a solo walk or working alone in a quiet corner, know that he's not retreating from the world. He's sharpening his mind, building his fortress, and preparing to unleash his full potential. Point 7. Applying this to your life. Sigmas, this isn't just about admiring the Sigma archetype, it's about becoming it. The Sigma male isn't just a personality type, he's a mindset, a lifestyle, a quiet force that shapes his own path regardless of societal expectations. Here's how you can embody that energy, step by step. One of the defining traits of a Sigma male is his comfort with solitude. This isn't about loneliness, it's about intentional aloneness. Carving out even 30 minutes a day to be alone with your thoughts can radically shift your perspective. Neuroscience shows that periods of solitude help your brain consolidate memories, boost creativity, and improve problem-solving skills. During this time, ask yourself powerful questions like, what am I working toward? Who am I becoming? These reflections are not just daydreams, they are your mental blueprint. By dedicating consistent time to self-reflection, you're setting the foundation for deliberate, purpose-driven growth. This sacred space becomes your personal laboratory where your goals take shape and your future self is designed. Being a Sigma male often means walking a path that others don't immediately understand. It's a solitary journey, and that can lead to feeling misunderstood or even judged. But here's the secret. That's exactly what separates you from the crowd. Psychologists suggest that individuals who break from social conformity often face resistance because they challenge the status quo. Instead of seeking validation, the Sigma male learns to embrace this disconnect. When others gossip or doubt, it's simply noise, background static to your mission. Your focus is building your empire, cultivating skills and mastering your own life. Remember, many revolutionary figures in history were misunderstood in their time, yet their perseverance paved the way for greatness. So let others talk while you quietly build. Solitude isn't just for reflection, it's the perfect time for growth. Use your alone time to read books, listen to podcasts, learn new skills, or engage in deep thinking. Research confirms that continuous learning not only boosts intelligence, but also increases your brain's plasticity, the ability to adapt and grow. The Sigma male understands that knowledge is power, and every minute invested in intellectual growth is a step closer to mastery. This isn't about collecting trivia. It's about sharpening your mental edge to think critically, strategize effectively, and innovate. The mind of a Sigma is a fortress, always evolving and becoming stronger. By following these principles, finding your sacred space, embracing being misunderstood, and sharpening your mind, you start to live the Sigma way. It's a journey of self-mastery, resilience, and silent strength. Not everyone will see the point. You're not here to fit in. You're here to stand out. And more importantly, to stand tall on your own terms. Sigmas, here's the ultimate truth. The Sigma male who always spends time alone is powerful, not because he's violent or ruthless, but because he's completely self-possessed. He is his own kingdom, his own best friend, and his fiercest competitor. This independence is rooted in psychological strength. Studies show that spending time alone can boost creativity, emotional intelligence, and self-awareness, qualities that Sigmas naturally embody. Unlike others who seek validation from social groups, Sigma males thrive in solitude, using it to recharge and sharpen their minds. This self-reliance means when he enters a room, he doesn't just blend in. He commands attention without saying a word. His confidence is silent but undeniable. So next time someone asks, "Why are you always alone?" smile, because your solitude isn't loneliness, it's your superpower, the foundation of your strength and individuality. Sigmas, if this video sparked something in you, if you're ready to embrace the power of solitude and live life on your own terms, join this community by subscribing and liking this video. Stay true and stay Sigma. Why is it that some men are always on the outside looking in? And yet, they don't seem to mind, because they're not trying to get in. While society often obsesses over alpha males, the dominant leaders, and beta males, the agreeable followers, there's a third archetype that breaks the mold entirely, the Sigma male. These men don't reject the hierarchy because they want to be rebels. They ignore it because it simply doesn't apply to them. Sigma males are lone wolves by choice. Psychologists have noted that such individuals often score high in traits like self-reliance, introspection, and non-conformity. They're not antisocial, but selectively social. They can thrive in groups, but they just don't need them to validate their worth. Unlike alphas who lead the pack, Sigma males lead themselves. They prioritize purpose over popularity, values over validation, and solitude over superficial social climbing. And that's precisely why they never seem desperate to fit in. They've discovered that peace is found not in acceptance from others, but in alignment with themselves. In a world addicted to approval, Sigma males are refreshing anomalies. They don't chase trends, they don't beg for attention, and they don't compromise who they are just to be part of the crowd. Their mysterious, independent nature might make them outsiders, but it also makes them intriguing, resilient, and ultimately unforgettable. So if you've ever felt like you were walking your own path, disconnected from the herd, it might not be a flaw. It might be your Sigma nature calling. And that, my friend, is a strength. Reason one, they don't crave validation. Let's get one thing straight. Sigma males do not need applause to validate their existence. While everyone else is doing things for the gram, Sigmas are doing things for growth. They don't need 300 likes to feel alive. They don't need group approval to act. They trust their own judgment, and that makes them a rare breed. This isn't just a catchy line, it's backed by psychology. According to self-determination theory, true motivation stems from autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Sigma males exemplify autonomy. They don't perform for the crowd, they act from internal convictions. While others crave external validation, Sigmas are fueled by self-validation, an inner compass that doesn't waver. When you stop seeking validation, you break society's most unspoken rule, conformity. Society wants you to play a role, dress the part, speak the script, and never question the rules. But Sigmas don't just break the rules, they walk off the stage entirely. They're not antisocial, they're selectively social. They engage when it's meaningful, not because it's expected. Why is this so powerful? Because validation-seeking behavior is linked to anxiety, low self-esteem, and burnout. Studies show that people who constantly look for approval tend to experience instability. Sigmas, on the other hand, often exhibit higher levels of self-reliance and mental clarity. They understand that self-worth isn't a popularity contest. It's something you build quietly, day by day, through discipline, reflection, and action. And here's the twist. When you stop chasing validation, people start noticing you more. Ironically, detachment from approval becomes magnetism. That's why Sigma males often seem so compelling. They're not trying to impress anyone. They're just becoming the best version of themselves. So the next time someone questions why you're not following the herd, remember, you're not lost. You're just walking a path only the self-assured dare to take. Reason 2, they're deep thinkers in a shallow world. Let's face it, modern culture thrives on small talk. Whether it's celebrity drama, the latest viral trends, or debates over who wore it better, society is hooked on surface-level chatter. But Sigma males, they tune it out. While others scroll through gossip, Sigmas are neck-deep in books, breaking down philosophies, decoding systems, and applying knowledge in ways most people wouldn't even consider. Sigma males are the intellectual rebels of the social hierarchy. They're not trying to be edgy or different just for the sake of it. They're built to think critically. Research from the Journal of Individual Differences highlights that individuals with introverted and independent personality traits, which Sigmas often embody, are more likely to exhibit high levels of cognitive curiosity and deep analytical thinking. They aren't satisfied with, that's just how it is. They want to know why it is, how it got that way, and what happens if you challenge it. This relentless questioning often isolates them. In a world that celebrates fitting in, Sigma males disrupt the narrative. They walk into a shallow pool and start asking deep questions, like why the water's shallow to begin with, and the result? Confused stares, uncomfortable silences, social exclusion. But here's the twist, Sigma males don't mind. They would rather walk alone with integrity than blend in wearing a mask. Being misunderstood is a small price to pay for being real. This isn't arrogance, it's authenticity. It's not that they're too cool for small talk, it's that their minds are too wired for substance to stay stuck in it. And that's what makes them powerful. In a society obsessed with image, Sigmas pursue insight. While others follow trends, they follow truth. And in doing so, they forge their own path, one that doesn't require approval to feel valid. Because at the end of the day, Sigma males know one thing. It's better to be underestimated than to be uninspired. Reason 3. They operate outside the social hierarchy. Most people are busy climbing ladders, career ladders, social ladders, hierarchies of power and prestige. But Sigma males, they dismantle the entire structure. They don't seek validation through status. They're not playing chess to become king. They've already left the board. While the world argues about who's alpha, beta, or gamma, the Sigma male is quietly building his own kingdom, often in literal solitude. Think Thoreau at Walden Pond, or Keanu Reeves quietly dominating Hollywood without craving the spotlight. Sigmas don't care where they rank because they never subscribe to the ranking system to begin with. This mindset is what makes them so unpredictable. In a society wired around conformity and control, the Sigma's refusal to play by the rules disrupts expectations. Psychology tells us that humans crave categorization. It helps us feel secure. So when someone refuses to be defined, that unknown becomes intimidating. Studies in behavioral psychology even suggest that unpredictable individuals can trigger discomfort in group settings because they're harder to influence or manipulate. Sigmas steer clear of drama ego contests and power games not because they're weak, but because they see through the illusion. Power gained through dominance is fleeting, influence gained through integrity is lasting. They're mission-focused, not attention-hungry. This singularity of purpose makes them efficient and often highly successful, though you'll rarely see them bragging about it, and that's why they don't fit in. Not because they're flawed, but because they're free. Free from social games, free from peer pressure, and free from needing the world's approval. Society might see that as a threat, but Sigmas see it as clarity. They've never needed the ladder because they've always had wings. Reason 4. They value solitude over noise. Crowds, overrated parties, maybe if the moon's in retrograde and the playlist doesn't suck. Sigma males thrive in solitude, not because they're antisocial, but because that's where they recharge, refocus, and reconnect with themselves. Unlike extroverts who draw energy from social interaction, Sigma males are what psychologists classify as introverted individuals with high autonomy. They're not afraid of being alone with their thoughts. In fact, they seek it. In today's hyper-connected world, silence has become rare and even feared. Most people drown themselves in distractions, endless scrolling, background noise, constant notifications. But Sigma males lean into the quiet. Why? Because silence sharpens their focus. It's in these quiet spaces that ideas are born, goals are refined, and resilience is cultivated. Solitude isn't loneliness. This is a key distinction. Loneliness is a craving for connection. Solitude is a conscious choice to be alone for self-growth. Studies show that individuals who spend regular time in solitude have increased creativity, better emotional regulation, and stronger decision-making skills. That's Sigma energy in action, and no, they don't ghost people. They simply understand that their time and energy are sacred. If they disappear, it's not drama, it's maintenance. A Sigma male knows that peace is more valuable than popularity, and mental clarity beats constant chatter. When you're alone and content, you develop a mental edge. You're less influenced by social norms, trends, or the need for validation. That makes you unpredictable. And in a world obsessed with conformity, unpredictability is power. So if you've ever turned down a night out just to sit under the stars with a good book or journal your thoughts in silence, congratulations, you're walking the Sigma path. You've already outgrown the crowd. You're building something deeper, something most people can't see but will one day feel, because a man who finds strength in solitude doesn't follow the noise. He becomes the signal. Reason 5, they speak with purpose, not for attention. Ever notice how some people talk just to hear themselves speak? That's not the Sigma way. When a Sigma male talks, it's intentional, measured, strategic. Unlike others who may be motivated by the need for attention or validation, a Sigma speaks with purpose. Every word is carefully chosen. They're not about noise, they're about signal. The distinction is subtle but powerful. They're the quiet force in the room, not the loudest voice. This measured approach often catches people off guard, and that's precisely what makes it so effective. In a world where everyone seems to be trying to fill the air with words, a Sigma's silence can be a game changer. It commands attention without demanding it. It's an invitation to listen more closely, to pay attention to what's truly being said. When a Sigma enters a conversation, it's not to dominate or control. They don't need to. They're there to offer something real, something valuable. Whether it's a nugget of wisdom, a sharp observation, or simply a unique perspective, a Sigma male's words are meant to leave an impact. The people around them may be used to surface-level chatter, but the Sigma's insights hit differently. They resonate. This kind of quiet confidence often makes others uneasy. In a culture of over-explainers and self-promoters, the Sigma's reserved nature feels like a power move. And for them, it is. Because it's not about filling the space with endless talking. It's about taking control of the conversation by saying just enough. Their words land with weight because they've earned the right to be heard. In a sea of noise, the Sigma remains a signal, a beacon of clarity and purpose. Reason 6, they prioritize freedom over comfort. Security is nice, but freedom? Freedom is everything. Sigma males possess an inherent desire for independence that drives their every decision. They would rather face the risk of failure chasing their own path than succeed by following the traditional routes that society lays out for them. This mindset explains why so many Sigmas take the leap into entrepreneurship, leaving stable jobs to start their own businesses. They value the autonomy of calling their own shots far more than the comfort of a predictable paycheck. These individuals are not averse to success, far from it, but they have a fundamental aversion to being trapped in a system, bound by the expectations of others. They don't conform to conventional norms because they know that true success that resonates deeply with the soul, requires carving out one's unique space in the world. Society often rewards those who are willing to follow orders, stick to established systems, and stay in the confines of the cage. However, Sigmas are allergic to those cages, those structures that limit personal expression and freedom. This rejection of societal norms is not rooted in rebellion for the sake of rebellion, but in the belief that freedom is the ultimate form of success. Sigmas understand that real growth occurs when you take ownership of your journey, risk failure on your terms, and redefine what success looks like. This is why you'll often see them turning down promotions or leaving jobs with potential for growth, if it means sacrificing their independence in the process. For Sigmas, it's not about following the herd or climbing a corporate ladder. It's about choosing to forge their own path. In a world that often pushes people to follow a prescribed set of rules, Sigmas reject conformity and redraw the map of what is possible. They understand that their path may not always be easy or conventional, but it's theirs, and that's where true fulfillment lies. Reason 7, they challenge the status quo. Ever met someone who just doesn't seem to follow the script? That's a Sigma male. Instead of adhering to societal norms or conforming to the status quo, they break away from the pack and forge their own path. They're the ones questioning why we still hold on to outdated traditions, why we measure success with money, titles, and external validation, and why we place more value on appearing rich than on being wealthy in mind, spirit, and heart. Sigma males see the world through a different lens. They recognize that the societal matrix is built on artificial constructs, rules that often don't align with their values or personal truths. Once they see through the facade, there's no going back. It's like seeing the strings on a puppet show. You can never unsee the illusion. When a Sigma enters a system that doesn't make sense, they don't simply accept it. They don't go along with the crowd or pretend everything is fine. They challenge it. They ask questions that others are afraid to ask. They don't hesitate to break it down, deconstruct it, and rebuild it on their own terms. And if the system refuses to evolve, they simply walk away. This ability to question the norm and reshape the world according to their values makes the Sigma male the ultimate disruptor. They don't follow trends, they create them. They don't fit in because they're too busy standing out and changing the game. For a Sigma, the world is a canvas, and they're not afraid to paint outside the lines. This mindset doesn't just make them unique, it empowers them to lead by example, showing others that true freedom lies in questioning, reinventing, and stepping away from the conventional. So next time you encounter someone who defies the system, who doesn't conform, and who's constantly rewriting the rules, there's a good chance you've met a Sigma male. Reason 8, they're comfortable being the lone wolf. Let's face it, fitting in can sometimes feel like a lonely pursuit. But here's the thing, being alone doesn't mean you're lost. For Sigma males, solitude is a conscious decision. They know that it's in those quiet moments of self-reflection and independence that true strength and clarity are found. While society often pressures people to find their tribe and belong to a group, Sigma males take a different approach. They don't surround themselves with people just to fill an emotional gap or fit in with the crowd. For them, it's more empowering to have no circle than to engage in fake friendships. They trust themselves, trust their own judgment, decisions, and path in life. It's all about embracing their independence, which gives them the freedom to grow on their own terms. You see, when you're walking your own path, there may not always be a cheering crowd behind you. But that's okay. Sigma males understand that the journey is not about applause, admiration, or external validation. The journey is about something much deeper, finding and fulfilling a personal purpose. This deep sense of self-reliance is what truly sets Sigma males apart from others. It's not about isolation for the sake of isolation. It's about choosing solitude to hear their own thoughts, make their own decisions, and ultimately live a life that is aligned with their values. Their solitude is not emptiness. It's a wellspring of growth and clarity. They know who they are and are not afraid to walk alone if it means staying true to themselves. Ultimately, Sigma males don't need a tribe because they are the tribe. So Sigmas, let's be clear, not fitting in is not a flaw, it's a feature. It's a sign that you're not here to blend in, you're here to stand out. These 8 reasons are more than